Hi folks, and welcome to the Meaningful Money Podcast, Season 13, Episode 9. This is the podcast dedicated to helping you put your finances in order. My name is Pete Matthew, and I'm going to share with you everything you need to know and everything you need to do to secure your financial future. I'm here to help you make sense of money. Here we are once again. Great to have you with me, folks. Now, the title of this whole season that we're nearly at the end of is Millennial Finance. And I agonized long and hard over calling it that because I didn't really want to exclude those who I know would benefit from the stuff we've been talking about, but who didn't identify as millennials. So today's session is for you if you're getting started on your personal finance journey, but you are, well, shall we say, born before 1980, right? I'll hold my hand up to that. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking to you specifically, you older getting started folks. After the main body of the show, I'll read a review that's been left and all that sort of stuff. But before all that, remember, this podcast is brought to you with the help of my friends at 7 Investment Management. They've been helping me out on here since the spring of 2011, which is a long time. Their support has enabled me to build Meaningful Money to what it is, and I wouldn't want to have done it without them. I'm super grateful. So please do check out what they're up to. 7im.co.uk. That's the number 7im.co.uk. Go check them out. Okay, so the title of this episode is Never Too Late. And I believe very strongly that it's never too late to make a difference to your current and future financial situation. Even if you're already retired, there are things you could do to improve your finances. So today I want to encourage those of you starting later than you might have liked, right, and give you some practical stuff to take on board and to put into action. Remember, notes and links from today's show, they're at the show notes. It's the only link you need to remember, meaningfulmoney.tv/MF9 for Millennial Finance Episode 9. meaningfulmoney.tv/MF9. Let's have a look at what you need to know first. Right. First thing you need to know is that it's never too late. Let's reinforce that point. I'm going to hammer it home right at the top here. No matter what your age or your current financial situation, the future will be brighter than it is right now if you take action. Thank you, Captain Obvious, but I think it's worth reminding ourselves. Any action will make your future brighter. You might have heard the sort of cliched saying that the best time to plant an oak tree was 50 years ago, but the second best time is right now. It's a cliche, but it's true, right? The absolute worst outcome is not to plant the oak tree at all. Far better late than never. The immutable laws of personal finance success, things like compounding, real asset growth, time in the market, all that sort of stuff, they all apply no matter when you start. Sure, compounding is more effective when allowed to work over 40 years rather than 15, but it does still work. You're going to need to find peace with the fact that what's gone before is done. It's old news, right? It's what you do from here on in that really matters, right? So let's reinforce the point. It's never too late. The future will be brighter than it is now if you take action. Second thing to know is that debt is the enemy. Now, if you're carrying debt, you're starting from a negative position. That isn't a reason to despair, but it is the first thing that you're going to need to address. Quick reminder of my views on good and bad debt. Bad debt is high interest and is used to buy stuff which depreciates. That means it goes down in value. Good debt, by contrast, is generally low interest and is used to buy stuff which appreciates. Okay? Bad debt, high interest, buys stuff which goes down in value. Good debt is low interest, buys stuff which goes up in value. So by that definition, a mortgage is a good debt. Credit cards, store cards, personal loans, overdrafts, they are bad debt because interest rates are high and most people use those kind of facilities to buy short-term consumables like clothes and technology. Bad debt means that you're making other people rich and not yourself. You're paying money away that you could be paying into your future accounts like ISAs, pensions. Okay? Now that you are planning and acting for your future financial security, getting rid of bad debt is your number one priority. Third thing to know is that the world owes you nothing. Only you truly know why you are in the position you're in right now. Okay, there are as many reasons for that as there are people listening to this. Maybe your finances aren't great because you've made some poor decisions in the past. Maybe you've experienced illness and haven't been able to work. Maybe you've been through a relationship breakdown and you're starting from scratch. Whatever the reasons are, don't dwell on those reasons. Instead, look forward. The world owes you nothing, though. You do not deserve to have nice things, right? You have to earn them. You don't have the right to a certain standard of living in retirement. Yes, a minimum standard of living, but you don't have a right to, a 35 grand a year retirement income. You have to take action to enable that. Put any sense of entitlement away from you, right? There might be reasons external to you even for your current position, but your future position is down to you and you alone and the decisions you make now and into the future, right? Entitlement has no place for adults looking to better their financial position. So, we've looked at what you need to know very quickly. It's never too late. Debt is the enemy, so we need to understand good and bad debt and make sure we get out of bad debt as quick as possible. And any sense of entitlement is just going to be counterproductive. So we need to look at now what we need to do. But before we do, I have to sort of assume that you are capable of improving your financial position. This means that there's no major impediment to you taking radical action from this point on. If you are in debilitating, crushing debt, you need to seek help. Right? If you don't have an income, you are going to be limited as to how much of the following information you're going to be able to apply. So that's the assumption, really. Okay? And on that understanding, let's have a look at what you need to do from this point on. First thing you need to do is to resolve to take action every single day. All right? Listening to this podcast won't help. It won't help you improve your financial situation. Taking action on the back of what you learn here will help. All right? Action is everything. And if you're starting later than you would like, you're going to need to take radical action every day between now and the point at which you reach your goals. So resolve to take action every single day. In anything, success comes from consistency of action. The reason I'm still overweight, right, is that I'd make too many bad eating choices. If I was 100% consistent in my eating choices, I would have a six-pack to die for. I do not, all right? So resolve to take action every day. Consistency is going to be the clincher for you. It's going to be the thing that makes all the difference. Secondly, plan for success, right? There is real value in setting a plan for where you would like to be. So this means envisioning your future to a certain extent, where you would like to be, and determining the steps then that you need to take to get from A to B. For most people, the definition of financial success is having your financial needs met for the rest of your life by having sufficient income and or capital to provide for those needs. So firstly, you need to define what those needs are. Express them in terms of monthly or yearly outgoings. How much per month would you ideally like to be able to spend for the rest of your life? Be realistic. If you're earning 20 grand a year now, it's very unlikely that you're going to be enjoying a £50,000 a year retirement income, right? An unrealistic goal is not going to inspire you to stay the course. Always think in today's money when you are planning. What will your ideal lifestyle cost right now? Okay, come up with a number and write it down. Next, you need to consider what sources of income you might have both now and in the future and the amounts that they're likely to provide. If you're currently earning an income, how will that increase over time? Are you likely to receive a promotion with regular pay rises? When would you like to stop working this job? What is your state pension going to be? Get a forecast if you haven't already. Find out if you can improve it by topping up National Insurance contribution record. What about company pensions? How much might they pay? When will the income start? What form will it take? Can you arrange other sources of income? Could you start a side hustle of some kind? Can you make stuff you can sell? Can you take a second job, rent out a room in your house, rent out your parking space? Build a timeline which takes into account all these income sources, the amounts that they will pay, and when they will begin. And what you will do is you'll start to build a picture where in each year you'll see income coming in, and we've already talked about expenses going out. Chances are in some or maybe in all of those years there's going to be a shortfall. So, if you've got more going out than coming in, certainly in retirement, If that's the case, you've got two options. You're either going to need to adjust your spending to bring your expenses in line with the income in that year, or you're going to need to have capital from which you can draw to make up the shortfall. Now, most of us will be able to build up some level of capital over time while we are earning a living. The question is, how long will that capital last once we start drawing from it? That depends on where the capital is invested, how much it grows, and you're going to need to make some assumptions about this as you plan. You might want to consider ad hoc injections of capital, which might come in throughout your life. The problem is those are very variable. So, you might inherit, you might expect to inherit from parents or from another family member, but I wouldn't set too much store on that because it might never happen for whatever reason. Could you sell your property and downsize, maybe release some cash that way? Maybe you can build up enough capital to last you, say, 10 years once you start drawing from it. But that's good. And at that point, you can decide, at that point I will need to sell my house to release some more capital, or maybe take out an equity release mortgage. There's an assumption, of course, that you have a property, and that might not be a case, in which case you're going to need to plan for paying rent for the rest of your life. Now, this paradigm of a timeline is important. When clients come to me here at Jackson's for financial planning, we use this idea of a timeline so people can see their lifespan laid out in front of them. And then we look at cash flow, money in versus money out in each year of that timeline. Okay. Now, when we do that, we put a chart and it starts with their current age at the left, and we usually shuffle them off at age 100. And so we end up with the rest of their life mapped out on one computer screen. And I always tell folks not to worry too much about the right-hand side of the cash flow chart. That is later life, right? It's more important to ensure that the coming years and the first 10 years or so of retirement are provided for. Now, ideally, of course, you want to be in a position that all of your future needs will be met. That might not be possible, though. We need to make sure that your earlier retirement years are met first, right? But you might need to be prepared to adjust your expectation of your future lifestyle if the numbers just don't add up. Okay. What you don't want is to live a high life between the ages of 65 and 75 and then essentially be destitute. Far better to adjust your spending in those early years and have the money last longer. So plan for success. Okay. Get help with this if you need to from a professional financial planner. Third thing you need to do is to budget like your life depends on it, right? Once you have a plan, you can work back to see how much capital you need to amass to meet your future needs. From there, you can work out how much you need to save now to get to that capital level. There's an online calculator in the show notes, which can help you with the maths, right? Okay, how much will you need? Oops, bash the microphone. All you need really is your starting position, how much money you have now, and a figure for how much you can save each month. Make an assumption about the interest rate, more on that in a minute, and enter the time period that you'll be saving over. Okay, the calculator will give you the amount of money you can expect to have one day. It gets really interesting when you tick the box to have your monthly savings increase by inflation each year. All right, so you actually increase the amount you save each year. But now that you've got a target and some idea of how much that you'll need to save each month to reach your target, your sole aim in life is to do whatever it takes to meet your savings goal. We've started with a plan, we've identified a shortfall, we've used the online calculator to get to a figure that we now need to put aside this month. So now the rubber hits the road. Now you might need to make significant sacrifice to make this happen. All right? Be prepared to give up luxuries if that's what it takes to meet your goal. You might need to make sacrifices to your future expectations as well. You might need to weigh up sacrifices now versus sacrifices made in retirement. Don't be lazy and trot out the line that you might be dead tomorrow, so it's really important to live for today. Yeah, all right. Don't just live for today at the expense of tomorrow. Find a balance that you're happy with now and that you'll be happy with in future as well. All right? Do everything you can to meet that savings goal. That's your number one job once you've identified it. Fourth thing you need to do is to invest and diversify. Invest and diversify. One of the variables that you enter into the calculator is the interest rate. Now, regular and long-time listeners will know that one of my favorite mantras is that cash is not an investment. Say it with me. Cash is not an investment. No one builds wealth by keeping money in the bank, right? The only money you should keep in the bank is money you're going to need in the next, say, 2 to 3 years at most. Everything else should be invested. Run your calculations twice on that online calculator. One with the interest rate at, say, 1%, right? And with the other, do a 5% return. Now, in order to get the latter, you're going to need to invest in real assets. But you see the difference, compounding at 1% and compounding at 5%, right? If you're going to get 5%, you're going to need to buy stuff which goes up in value. Real assets, we call them here. Now, for most of us, practically, that means we buy stocks and shares, funds inside an ISA or a pension, right? If you're starting late, you're going to need to take every scrap of free money that you can get, which means you should weight your savings significantly in favor of pensions. You do need to have some money available, so definitely take out an ISA as well. If you're under 40, you can take out a lifetime ISA and get the bonus there. But the older you are, the nearer you are to the point at which you can access your pensions, age 55 currently, accessibility then becomes less of an issue. If you're fairly near to 55, then it doesn't matter so much, right? So weight your savings towards pensions. That free money in the form of tax relief is going to be crucial. I did a whole season on pensions, so learn how they work, make the most of them, really important. Spread your money around to harness risk, but don't take unnecessary risk. The best way to do this is to use a multi-asset fund. I did an episode on how to find a multi-asset fund as well. Link in the notes to these things. Much more investing, you can do a search on Meaningful Money site, or you can take my Learn How to Invest course. There's a link in the notes to that as well. Okay. Spoiler alert, anybody that buys into the Learn How to Invest course will get grandfathered into Meaningful Academy when it launches. So invest and diversify. Learn how to invest. Put your money to work. Take advantage of the free money in pensions and in the lifetime ISA if you're young enough to benefit from that. You have to be under age 40 to take one of those out. So invest and diversify. And finally, the last thing you need to do is to accelerate your progress where you can. So one way to do this is to commit to regular increases in the amount that you save each month or each year. Every time you get a pay rise, add more to your savings rate. I mean, this is a universal truth, but it's particularly important if you're starting late. If you get a bonus or if you do some overtime, don't spend it, put it away, invest it for the future. Again, use the calculator to check out the difference made if you increase your savings rate by inflation. It can be staggering, the difference between success, really, and the alternative. Property is obviously a compelling way to improve your financial situation. You can borrow a mortgage, that's good debt, to buy a rental property. That will provide an income, subject to you having tenants in there, of course. Does open you up to maintenance costs and stuff like that. Plenty of people use property as a mainstay of their wealth building efforts, and they're right to do so. It's not for everyone, though, but it's definitely an avenue to consider. Look no further, of course, than the always excellent Property podcast for loads of help with that whole area. You need to push harder to make it if you are starting later. So consider dialing up the risk of your investments. Understand the implications of doing so, always going with your eyes open, but don't discount it. Plenty of people have been disappointed in retirement because they've taken too little risk with their money. Remember, risk can be mitigated by time and diversification. All right. So let's just go back. Resolve to take action every single day. Every single day. This is your only job now, is to improve your financial future. So resolve to take action. Plan for success. Work out your income on your timelines and your expenses. Find out your shortfall and work out how much you need to save now to address that shortfall. 3, budget like your life depends on it, because it does. 4, invest and diversify. And 5, accelerate your progress. Get my words out. Accelerate your progress by ramping up your savings rate. Maybe consider gearing, borrowing, maybe to buy property and stuff like that. So, like I said in the first section today, you can make significant inroads into your financial planning if you resolve to start now and take it really, really seriously. You might not have the luxury of 40 years to build wealth over. You might have half that or even less. But any action taken now will improve your future status, no doubt. So stop thinking about it. Don't let inertia and indecision rob you of another 6 months of benefit. For God's sake, don't get to Christmas 2019 and think, I really must do something about that next year. Resolve to start now. Dive in, take it seriously, stay the course. Good luck. Okay? So I hope that's helpful, and I hope it's encouraging. There's lots to take on there, but there's lots to do. It ain't going to be easy, but the future can be a lot brighter than it is now if you take action. Okay, this week's review is titled Absolute Must Listen by Scar098 from here in the UK. I wish these podcasts were played in schools. Nobody would listen to this in schools. 16-year-old daughter thinks it's deeply boring. I wish this podcast were played in schools. It might save plenty of people from a life of needless strife. Yeah, tell me about it. Pete totally strips away the superfluous industry speak to make finances and investments easily understandable to everyone, even complete novices like myself. Top bloke. And he's from Yorkshire. 5 stars from me. Thank you very much, Scar098. Clearly a fellow Yorkshireman. Really appreciate that. If you're liking what you hear, just like Scar098 did, leave me a review. meaningfulmoney.tv/iTunes if you're of an Apple frame of mind. But wherever you listen to podcasts, and if you have the option to leave me a review, please do so, because it helps more people to find the show and listen. We're scraping around 100,000 downloads a month of this show now, which is just unbelievable. And it's down to you guys, listening, spreading the word. I get emails all the time from people saying, I've told everybody I know about this show. So thank you, and please keep doing that. Okay, a couple of quick reminders. Meaningful Academy is coming late March, all being well, something like that anyway. And that is going to be, the place to take things to the next level from all the free stuff that I've been giving out for years. Loads of resources, video lessons, downloadable stuff. Going to be building it over a period of time. And I'm looking for some people to help me do that by feeding back on what's there at launch, and so that I can just tweak things. So right now, it's not ready yet. There's like a holding page there. But if you go to meaningfulacademy.com, put your first name and email address in there, I'll keep you informed. But I'm looking for 50 or so initial founder members to feedback on the stuff that's in there. Okay, it will, in due course, address everything from getting started all the way to the great transition into retirement. It's going to take a long time to build that, though, at least this year to build it all. And I'm starting with the getting started sort of phase of personal finances, everything from budgeting to protection and all that sort of stuff. Loads more detail, some calculators in there. So it's going to be great. Okay. Now, meaningfulacademy.com, name and email address in there, and I'll keep you informed. That's all you're signing up to. You're not actually signing your life away or parting with any money yet. Just asking to be kept informed. That's all. Facebook group is thriving as I record this. Nearly 800 people in there asking and answering questions every single day. Super exciting place to be. Really vibrant, lovely atmosphere in there. Everybody's looking to help each other. So everybody that's in there, thank you for joining. If you haven't joined yet, just go to meaningfulmoney.tv/community, and that will forward to the Facebook page and just ask to join. All right, and some good stuff going on there. Right, next time, can you believe next time we'll be rounding off the Millennial Finance season, which is amazing. That's gone really quick, actually. So we're rounding it off with the now traditional question and answer show. You've been emailing with me with questions as we've gone along. I'm going to be doing my best to sort of group them together into the main themes of questions that have come out, including the most asked question of all by a country mile, which involves the lifetime ISA. All right. So that's next week, rounding off this show and this season. Amazing. So that's it for this week, folks. Hope it was helpful. If you're starting late, remember it's never too late to take action today, and the future will be a lot brighter than it will otherwise be. Any questions or comments? Show notes for this week, meaningfulmoney.tv/MF9 for Millennial Finance episode 9. Leave any questions there. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll talk to you next week.